Hello everyone, welcome to Trades Talk Tuesday. I am your host Pop, and wherever you may be, and wherever platform you're listening to me on, I welcome you. If you're on Rumble or Kick or on YouTube, it's a pleasure to see you here. And in case you're new to the stream, this is where I take the time to talk about the skilled trades, how to get into them, what to expect, what it's going to be like if you decide to take that route, and how important it is that you decide to take that route. And yes, no matter where you are, even if you happen to be listening to me when you're in the shower, like some people are, I hope you enjoy it. Don't scrub yourself in the same spot for too long now. It's just a shower, remember? So, as I so often do, what we'll do is tune in to the news out in industry and see what is making headlines. And I'll do that by looking at Plant Magazine. Right away, something catches my eye. Enbridge must cease Line 5 operations on Bad River land by June 2026. This has to do with some pipelines, it looks like. And that's very relevant because it's necessary to keep the pipelines, the oil flowing. It's always just a shower until you turn it off, let the water drain, and then fill up the tub for a bath. Oh, yeah. Well, you can do that, I guess. The controversial Line 5 pipeline can keep moving fossil fuels through an indigenous band's territory in Wisconsin for now, but operations on that property must cease on June 16th, 2026. A U.S. judge says Calgary-based Enbridge Energy Incorporated, the pipeline's owner, had asked Wisconsin District Court Judge William Conley to clarify his order earlier this month, giving the company just 3 years to relocate that section of the pipeline. Enbridge plans to build a 66-kilometer detour around the sovereign territory of the Bad River Band of the Lake Superior Chippewa to replace a contested 19-kilometer stretch that runs directly through it. And court documents filed on Friday suggest the energy transmission giant has been hoping for assurances that Line 5 would not be shut down entirely in the event that the detour isn't completed in time. The answer they got Monday was unequivocal. Enbridge seeks confirmation that it continued to operate Line 5 in the normal course of business for 3 years from the date of judgment on the parcels for which it lacks a valid right-of-way, Conley wrote. Enbridge's understanding is generally accurate, he continued, provided the parcels in question were part of the lawsuit and that the company abides by the order to share the profits with the band. However, as just noted, operation of Line 5 on those parcels must cease on June 16, 2026. Enbridge says the reroute's timing depends on approval decisions from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, expected in 2025. Relocating the pipe is expected to take about a year. But the 3-year window, which opened up 10 days ago, Conley confirmed, may still be too narrow for the company's comfort. Judging from the arguments its lawyers made in its court filing Friday, Enbridge respectfully maintains that it has presented legal authority to delay any injunction until the reroute is operational, thereby avoiding any loss of service and resulting substantial harm to the public. The court has the authority not to issue or to stay any injunction order to coincide with the reroute becoming operational to ensure that the public interest remains protected from substantial adverse consequences. The Bad River Band has been fighting Enbridge in court since 2019, saying the company lost permission to operate on the reservation in 2013. Conley agreed Enbridge insists a 1992 agreement with the band allowed it to keep operating. But the judge has long been wary of an immediate shutdown, citing the risk of a dire economic consequence, lingering fuel shortages in the Midwest, Ontario, and Quebec, and a lasting scar on the Canada-U.S. relations. Honestly, they have to maintain their contract or whatever they've agreed to, but you just chop off and stop the oil from coming? That's going to be a major impact, and they might even be doing it on purpose, just to make people suffer with shortages of oil. You never know what's going on behind the scenes or what anybody's really thinking out there. But it would be a bad scene if they didn't let them finish the detour around. Yeah, it's something they've got to figure out there. So while he found that a rupture on Bad River territory would unquestionably meet the definition of a public nuisance under federal law, Connolly gave Enbridge a 3-year deadline in order to share Line 5's profits with the band, starting with a $5.1 million back payment. The order left both sides unsatisfied. 3 years is too long to wait, given the risk of a spill in a Key Lake Superior watershed and the financial penalty too modest to prevent Indigenous sovereignty from being further violated in the future, the band's lawyers say. Enbridge, meanwhile, will argue at appeal that the 1992 contract with the Bad River band constituted consent for Line 5 to operate on its territory through 2043. Spokesman Michael Barnes said in a statement, Enbridge plans to appeal the court's decision and is weighing all options, including requesting a stay of the judge's decision while an appeal is heard. And while Connolly's timeline is arbitrary, it is also achievable, provided federal and state government permitting agencies follow reasonable and timely processes. We urge prompt government action so this project can be completed within the next 3 years. Talks between Canada and the U.S. have been going on for months under the terms of the Pipeline Transit Treaty, a 1977 agreement that effectively prohibits either side from unilaterally closing off the flow of hydrocarbons. The dispute grew more urgent back in April when heavy spring flooding washed away significant portions of the riverbank where Line 5 intersects the Bad River, a meandering 120-kilometer course that feeds Lake Superior and a complex network of ecologically delicate wetlands. Environmental groups call the 70-year-old pipeline a ticking time bomb with a dubious safety record, despite Enbridge's claims to the contrary. The neighboring state of Michigan, led by Attorney General Dana Nessel, has been waging war on Line 5, fearing a leak into the Straits of Mackinac, the waterway where the pipeline crosses the Great Lakes. Line 5 carries 540,000 barrels of oil and natural gas liquids daily across Wisconsin and Michigan to refineries in Sarnia, Ontario. Its defenders, which include the federal government, say a shutdown would cause major economic disruption across the prairies and the U.S. Midwest, where it provides feedstock to refineries in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. It also supplies key refining facilities in Ontario and Quebec and is vital to the production of jet fuel for major airports on both sides of the Canada-U.S. border, including Detroit Metropolitan and Pearson International in Toronto. So yeah, it's fine. They want to shut it down and stop, but you know what? It's going to have major repercussions if you do that. Hey, Whoopa Troopa, good to see you. Just in time for some stories from out in industry. This one caught my eye as well. China says Biden comments likening leader Xi to a dictator are extremely absurd and irresponsible. Yeah, okay, China. More specifically, the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Your country is a shithole to live in. Your people have to suck on rocks mixed in with sauce. I've seen the video where it's like, oh, CNN called it a delicacy. It's like, no, you're sucking rocks. Your country is garbage. And I just want you to know that I can't wait until it falls. It'll be nice to see. The Communist Party is just garbage. Anyway, my rant is over right now. Shower's off, tub is draining. You know what happens next? No, I hope not, Michael. You can just keep that to yourself there, buddy. Hey, Jake D, good to see ya. What's this I hear? The sound of production for the glorious state? All right. Beijing, China, on Wednesday called comments by U.S. President Joe Biden referring to Chinese leader Xi Jinping as a dictator extremely absurd and irresponsible. But he is. He's a dictator. What he says goes. People get disappeared. It's ridiculous to say that he's not a dictator. He is. To deny it is just, you're blind. You're ignorant. as a new rift threatened to upset tentative efforts to stabilize the relationship between the two countries. Clash of words comes just over a day after Secretary of State Antony Blinken concluded a visit to Beijing that sought to break the ice in a relationship that has hit a historical low. While both sides saw those talks as productive, they did not result in any significant breakthroughs beyond an agreement to return to a broad agenda for cooperation and competition. Biden at a fundraiser on Tuesday night said Xi was embarrassed over recent tensions surrounding a suspected Chinese spy balloon that was shot down by the Air Force over the East Coast. That's a great embarrassment for dictators when they don't know what happened. But then again, Biden doesn't even know what he's saying half the time anyway. He just yaps it up. I can't believe the guy is allowed to speak in public. Hello, Godzillionaire. How you doing? Nice to see you. Everyone's favorite kaiju. And yes, China. Forest Ministry spokesman Mao Ning responded to a question about Biden's remarks, said the comments at a fundraiser in California go totally against facts and seriously violate diplomatic protocol and severely infringe on China's political dignity. Yeah, okay, well then stop spying on your own people. You know, stop using a Chinese or a social credit system so that keep them from traveling. Let them go freely wherever they want to go. Make it so that everyone eats well and doesn't have to suck on rocks. It is a blatant political provocation. China expresses strong dissatisfaction and opposition, Mao said at a daily briefing. U.S. remarks are extremely absurd and irresponsible. No, they're the truth. It's the truth. I don't care what this idiot says. It's the truth. Mao reiterated China's contention that the balloon was for meteorological research and has been accidentally blown off course. Yeah, okay. The U.S. should have handled it in a calm and professional manner, she said. However, the U.S. distorted facts and used forces to hype up the incident, fully revealing its nature of bullying and hegemony. Biden had previously used the term dictator along with war criminal to refer to Russian President Vladimir Putin over his country's invasion of Ukraine. While Xi heads a country formerly named the People's Republic of China, he faces no limits on his terms as head of state, commander of the military, and leader of the ruling Communist Party, which brooks no challenge to its authority. Yeah, that means dictator. There's some of them in the world, you know, which don't spy on all people. Blinken's visit, during which he met with Xi, was aimed at easing tensions between the two superpowers. The trip was originally scheduled for February, but was put on hold after the balloon incident. While the visit marked a return to high-level contacts between the sides, China continues to refuse talks between their militaries. In recent this sounds like a good thing. Like, why do the militaries have to work together? Like, this is not good. Like, you know, America, land of the free. They're supposed to be, you know, the most democratic place on earth. And you're talking to the most undemocratic place on earth. Why are you talking to China even? Why are you trying to cooperate with the military? Don't do that. It's just ridiculous. I just like to throw your hands up some days and just give up. In recent days, the U.S. says Chinese warplanes and naval ships have maneuvered in ways that threaten their U.S. counterparts in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea, despite agreements between them on protocols for avoiding such incidents. During Blinken's visit, China reiterated in strong objection to U.S. support for the self-governing island democracy of Taiwan, which Beijing claims as its own territory. Taiwan is its own country. It should always be. It's ridiculous for China to reach out and say it's theirs. That's where Chiang Kai-shek fled after World War II. And the U.S. was like, if you touch this island, we'll nuke you. And so China just let the Chinese nationalists stay there in Taiwan. The U.S. has also sought to block China's access to cutting-edge computer chip manufacturing technology that could be used for military purposes and accused Beijing of stealing American intellectual property. Yeah, I've heard stories about that too. They stick around during like shows like CES and all that, or SEMA show, that it closes down for the day and you find these guys hiding around and looking at stuff and taking pictures and copying stuff. Not anymore, comrade. We are now in this USSA. Oh no. Say it ain't so, Jake D. Say it ain't so. That's what's great embarrassment for dictators when they don't know what happened. That wasn't supposed to be going where it was. It was blown off course up through Alaska and then down through the United States, and he didn't know about it. Biden said when it got shot down, he was very embarrassed. He denied it. It was even there. Of course he would. Despite their sharp political divide, the countries continue to have deep economic and cultural links. Bilateral trade passed $690 billion last year, and an estimated 300,000 Chinese are believed to be studying in the U.S., shoring up American institutions that have come under financial pressure. After meeting with Xi on Monday, Blinken acknowledged entrenched differences. We have no illusions about the challenges of managing this relationship. There are many issues of which we profoundly, even vehemently disagree. Xi sounded a similar note, but suggested the rivalry could be overcome. The competition among major countries is not in line with the trend of the times and cannot solve the problems of the United States itself and the challenges facing the world, he told Blinken. China respects the interests of the United States and will not challenge or supplant the United States. Similarly, the United States should also respect China and not harm its legitimate rights and interests. Yeah, I'm sure that China wishes they were the United States. They want to be the new superpower, the new world's reserve currency, so that they can be, calling the shots in the world. So they're lying when they say they don't want to supplant the United States. They totally do. They want to be where the United States is, as far as power goes. So, whatever, ignoring it. This idiotic thing the guy said about how it's absurd and irresponsible. No, it's true. The guy's a dictator. That's all there is to it. Comrade, you better not disparage the Chinese again, You wouldn't want your forklift certification revoked, Ha ha! Yeah, they could try. Just because you take it away doesn't mean I can't do it properly still. Just a piece of paper. Is pravda, comrade. Glory to the state. And, of course, Michael's settling into his bubble bath. What else we got here? Tennessee, Kentucky battery plants for Ford electric vehicles on track for a $9.2 billion federal loan. Federal loan, All that means is the people's money is being given to these companies. So I don't agree with that. Apparently it's a loan, so it has to be paid back. Packages from China are surging into the United States. Some say $800 duty-free limit was a mistake. Yeah? What did you think was going to happen? You do duty-free and all that from China. They're just going to load it up with all sorts of stuff. What do we hear? Canada moving too slow to counter U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, Industry Association. And gratefully given it was. Even more gratefully received. Yes, Jake D. TELUS and Aussie EV charger jolt to build up to 5,000 charging stations across Canada. Here's a shocker. Deloitte study suggests Canadians lack trust in brand sustainability claims. Do you think so? You think they just lie to you just so they can sell you their things? While most consumers believe in rewarding companies that accurately deliver on sustainable promises, a new study suggests their trust is lacking in the green claims made by brands. Of course, they're going to just talk with nice, cheap words. Why would they ever do anything that costs them money? Businesses do not want to spend money on things that don't give them a return on their investment. The report released Thursday by Deloitte Canada on creating value from sustainable products said Canadians expect sustainable buying options and crave transparency with respect to the claims brands make. It found that in September 2021, nearly half of Canadian consumers had purchased at least one sustainably produced good or service in the previous 4 weeks. But by March 2023, that figure had declined to 37%. While that 18-month stretch marked a period of high inflation, the study points to a lack of consumer confidence as another key factor. Around 57% of Canadian consumers said they don't believe most green or sustainable claims that brands make, it found. Well, good, you shouldn't. Don't just believe whatever they tell you. You mean corporations make shit up constantly? Yes, that's what I'm saying. That appears to conflict with the perception of Canadian business leaders, 71% of whom reported they believe the public has a significant level of trust in the authenticity of sustainability claims, along with 28% who think consumers have at least a moderate level of trust. So that tells me that they think consumers are stupid and they'll believe whatever they tell them. That's pretty much what it is. Aussie? Great. More Commonwealth infiltration. Nothing wrong with Aussie. See, right there. Joe Solly, a partner with Deloitte Canada's risk advisory practice and national consumer leader for sustainability and climate change, said he was surprised by that disconnect. There is no level of standardization around communicating sustainability and related product claims, and therefore it can tend to be a little bit of a Wild West in that you could say almost anything you want about your product that you as a business might believe to be true. But it's very difficult and confusing for consumers to understand, compare, and contrast, and what it leads to is frustration and skepticism. Despite many consumers tightening their wallets due to rising costs in recent years, 93% of respondents indicated they do not think of sustainable products and goods as just marketing. More than 60% of respondents said they are willing to pay a premium of 20% or more on green products when companies can prove their authenticity. But the survey found 46% of consumers are unwilling to pay extra for sustainable products because of a lack of clarity, trustworthiness, and authenticity from brands. A good claim is one that embodies a number of different attributes, Solly said. It's rooted in some standard and addresses regulatory and has verification programs. It's endorsed by reputable organizations and regularly assessed. When customers see some form of a seal or a certification, they tend to have a higher degree of trust versus just a random statement or a claim on a product. Meanwhile, 41% of Canadian businesses feel at risk of being accused of greenwashing when companies deceive consumers into believing their products are environmentally friendly if they pursue sustainability goals. Businesses need to be wary of potential greenwashing if they're not authentic, complete, transparent, and represent attributes of the entire life cycle of a product, considering its ingredients and sourcing and manufacturing and distribution. What happens at the end? Does it go into landfill or is it recirculated? Is it taken back? Companies are needing to be aware of the risks, but also aware of the opportunity. The squalid masses. The only organization I trust is the UN General Assembly. Ah, okay, Jake D. I don't know why, but okay. I'm sure they'll help you, right? Will they recognize Wupstotska as country? We must find out. Yeah, that's good enough for news in the industry. Next up, I found an article here about labor shortage of skilled trades. And I believe this is for construction. So one critical issue contributing to the housing shortage is the shortage of skilled trades workers in the construction industry. Currently, there are just under 1.6 million construction workers in Canada, representing almost 8% of the total employment. However, this falls short of the demand, with more than 80,000 vacancies and a record high vacancy rate above the national average. Specialty trades contractors account for more than half of the demand for workers. Average wages in construction have been rising faster than in the overall economy, reflecting the industry's labor shortage. The shortage of skilled trades workers has a detrimental impact on the industry's productivity as the allocation of labor becomes suboptimal and leads to longer project completion times and increased construction costs, ultimately driving up unit prices. Furthermore, the the industry's reliance on untrained labor poses safety concern. Productivity growth in construction has significantly lagged behind the national average, further exacerbating the affordability crisis. Aging workforce and retirements. This is part of the problem here. They need only recognize comrade leaders' jackboots on their feeble throats. Well, I hope Wupstotska could take over the UN. That would be most enjoyable. Adding to the urgency of the labor shortage crisis, the construction sector in Canada is also grappling with an aging workforce. The share of construction workers aged 55 and over has reached a record high, with the average retirement age in construction lower than other sectors. The demographic issue becomes more pronounced. The report estimates that around 300,000 construction workers will retire in the coming decade, exacerbating the existing shortage by 2033. That's in 10 years. The labor shortage in skilled trades alone is projected to grow by an additional 60,000 positions. To address the labor shortage, Tal says the construction industry must tap into various sources. Domestic training institutions, new immigrants, and foreign workers are potential solutions. However, the number of registered apprentices and trade qualifiers in Canada has declined by 15% over the past decade. Although the representation of women in the field has increased, they still constitute only 7% of the apprentices and trade qualifiers. Tal calculated the share of new immigrants in more than 60 construction-related occupations using detailed information from the IRCC and discovered that not only is the share of new immigrants in construction alarmingly low, but it has been trending downward in the last decade. The report highlights the need to increase the contribution of new immigrants to alleviate the severe shortage, while the share of foreign workers in construction currently stands at 11%. That trend is also moving in the wrong direction. Hey, Kitty Bear, how you doing? The whole problem is the lack of people with actual brains. Yeah, I agree. The start of learning about the trade should be done in like elementary school, introduced to them, maybe in the late elementary school, like grades 6 and 7, junior high, and then high school. They should get more information about it. Show them that it's not something to be looked down upon, and that you can make a good living if you have like a mechanical aptitude and have some brains in your head. You can do really well. We train them well, Jake D. Sweat is gross. Yes, but sweat, blood, sweat, tears, what you need to be a real man and make the machinery work again. To finish this thing up, Tal writes that tackling the labor shortage crisis in Canada's construction industry requires proactive recruitment strategies and policy changes, and building on the positive trend seen among women entering skilled trades is crucial. They really got to stop this. You know what? That's fine. You want women in the trades, but don't try to take them over, a man that wants to get into the trades. That's fine. Women want to get into the trades, good. But don't try to alienate the men that want to get into the trades as well. It's just not something that there's a very low percentage, and women aren't interested in the trades. So stop trying to force them to go into it. Efforts to reverse the decline in apprenticeships must be prioritized. The report commends initiatives like the tax fund refund program for skilled trades in Nova Scotia, but emphasizes that much more needs to be done. The recent inclusion of skilled trades occupation in the express entry program is a welcome development. However, Tal believes changes to the immigration point system are necessary to attract and retain new immigrants in the construction industry. The economist strong. Now we got to be careful. You're going to bring immigrants into the construction industry because they will get taken advantage of by unscrupulous people that run construction, like the old fly-by-night construction company. They'll treat them like garbage. They'll make them do dangerous things. So, they have to be careful in that regard. The economist strongly believes increasing the share of new immigrants participating in the labor market will be crucial in addressing the severe shortage of construction labor in Canada. Also, introduce it in the schools. Stop beating around the bush and waiting for women and immigrants to fill in. introduce it in the schools so that they can learn about it and be trained in it from a young age, rather than teaching them what gender they have to be. Do the apprenticeship thing. Get them interested in the skilled trades. Godzilla, but mud to diversity. Yeah. Everyone seems to think that money is made high up in the companies, forgetting that people at the bottom are actually the ones making the money. Stop screwing the lower people. Yeah. You get when you're high up, you don't work hourly. You work usually on salary, and that's a set price. And it doesn't matter how many hours you put in, how less of an hour. If you put more hours in or less hours in, it doesn't matter. You still get paid the same. Whereas if you work hourly, the more hours you put in, you get overtime, and that's the way it works. But they have important stuff to teach in school. Yeah. Okay, I got a story for you. It's about school. Where I lived before, I went to this junior high school, and, as the years go by, obviously I graduated from there and moved along, and I was in my 20s, and the school got turned into what was called a traditional school, where they were just teaching, reading, writing, arithmetic, right? The 3 R's. And there was a lineup around the block for people to enroll their kids in this, because they were just sick and tired of the stupid way they were teaching the curriculum was in that part. So what does that tell you? When people are lining up around the block to enroll their children in like a traditional school, like one they went to when they were kids, because they were tired of this stupid curriculum. And this was back in the 90s. So there must be a demand out there for that. I'm just wondering whether people want to have it so that their kids are taught the way they were taught. Don't worry about this other stupid stuff. Just make sure they know how to write correctly, how to read, how to use arithmetic. It's just makes sense to me. Screw the schools. Fathers need to be teaching their kids this. That's how I learned, not some school program. Yeah, exactly. You know what? If you can, homeschool your kids. That's what they used to do back in the day, like turn of the century. There was very few schools around. So if you're a kid and you're out on the farm or whatever, you'd learn at home, homeschool. They teach you to read, they teach you to count, they teach you all sorts of stuff, how to write. It's this institutionalized learning is just not doing any favors for anybody, any of the young kids, a young generation coming up. You've seen companies going belly up here that way. You worked for a company with 4 electricians having to make the money for 12 office people. You had work days of 24 hours. Ugh. That is disgusting. I don't like working for that long. That's just absolutely absurd. Yeah, there's no excuse for the tradesmen to carry the office people. School is a sick joke at this point. Yeah, agree. I agree. And don't attend public schools. Yep. I mean, private. If I had kids, I'd probably put them in a private school that I first would check out very thoroughly to make sure that they're going to not teach them stupid things, and make sure that they know how to solve problems and have critical thinking, and even how to work with their hands. I think that's more important than going on field trips or watching videos or being on their phone, being TikTokers, whatever. All right. Well, where are we at here? Okay. You know what? I think it's time for a little bit of shameless promotion. I hope you guys enjoy this.
Oh, hey there everybody. How are you? Well, I don't always play video games, but when I do, I make sure to safely make a safety save in a safe environment. And if you don't know how to make a safety save, well then make sure you check out Pop Culture Mechanics, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Central on Saturday mornings, where you can learn how to make a safety save that you might be so excited you could dance if you wanna. So, come on and check out Pop Culture Mechanics on Saturday mornings. Going to see you there. Bye.
Finally! Yes! Whew! My God! There you go, a little shameless plug, everybody. Just my game stream. I do that on Saturdays, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. It's a fun time. You can't be a TikToker without an electric grid. So true. Public schools are okay here, but there are things you got against them too, especially on teaching things that are useless. Yes, I agree. 100%. Safety save may be praised. Praise the safety save. All right. Well, that is the first half done. Next up, have I got pictures for you guys. As you very well know, I have been talking about it for the whole month of June. It's been shutdown season at my plant. And for those that don't know, when you do shutdown, any machinery that runs all the time and only gets worked on if it breaks down, well, this is the time that you schedule it to be shut down completely, removed from service, taken apart, rebuilt, and put back together with new parts and reinstalled in place. And that's what I have been doing for the past month. I've been a very busy mechanic. I prefer, I think, the other 11 months out of the year where I don't have to knuckle down so hard, but that's why we do shutdown, is so we can keep running for the whole year without any major breakdowns. And if I can have no major breakdowns on my watch, then I'm a happy camper. It means I've done my job. Oh, waifus? Oh, Jake D, you got to come out to Sunday Anime Chat to talk about waifus. But I may be doing something special here because Canada Day's coming up. And that's on the 1st of July. So I may do a special stream on the Monday when I have the day off. For example, when you're studying to become an electrician, you got into an argument with the teacher over me having to learn how to draw an electric schematics for building. Oh yeah. You didn't think it was worth having to do that because the drawing would be there for you already? Just wondering. Okay, go like this, and like this, this. Go. Canada Day, when you're not invited to the cool kids party, you throw your own. It just so happens that it was on the 1st of July in 1867. That's all. So, yeah, it's a little close to Independence Day, July 4th, but what you gonna do? We're neighbors, so we go to each other's parties, right? Kitty Bear, is that not anything you'd use regularly? You told him you didn't want an office job and all I needed to know is how to read the schematic and not how to draw them, so I was fine with a failing grade in that class. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, reading them is really important. Unless you're getting into where you're designing them, you shouldn't have to draw them out. It's not the 4th, you'd have a problem otherwise. Like I say, we go to each other's party. Anyways, I've got pictures up on the screen. What you're looking at right now is a giant heater. And during shutdown, we opened it up, as you can see here. It's lined with some insulation because it gets up to about 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the pipes in here, this coil, it had to be removed this year. We had to remove the coil And that was a big job. We had to get a crane in for that. Problem is, half the guys drawing schematics don't know how to do anything other than draw them. Never seen the wiring in person. Ah, yes, I could see that happening, Godzillionaire. You betcha. So there's a shot down the side of the coil. So it just stands there. It's on four of these. It's on four of the stands. Yeah, it's brick oven. Well, we use refractory on to line it so that it doesn't melt the metal casing. And all of these squares here are the burners. Bath time's over. The motion light turned off. Yeah, don't slip getting out of the tub, Michael. So this thing here, these are all tubes that carry the sulfur at high temperature. That's the one, the big pizza. Mamma mia. So I got a picture of both sides. And you have equal burners on the other side, heating this thing up. And there's the stand, one of the foot that it goes on, just kind of sits there. And there's not much holding this thing in there. There you are. Up at the top corners here, you have little pins that hold it from moving side to side, and this just the stand on the bottom. So as you can see, there's a big door on here that we take off with the crane. And then we'll have to remove the center section up here. So we can drop the crane slings down there to lift it up and bring it out. And that was one of the jobs we had to do on shutdown. Every 3 to 4 years, this coil needs to be changed. And this year was the year to do it. So won't have to do it again until 2026 or 2027, depending on when they measure it and see if it's losing any of its thickness or not. Bubble bath water is very slippery. Yeah, I told you, be careful. This is a heat exchanger. We brought it. It hangs out up on a mezzanine. We brought it down, and now it has to be pigged. When I say it has to be pigged, it's when they force a round cylindrical object through here to clean out all the pipes in here. Anything that's like built up on the lining on the inside. Now you're hungry because you wonder how many and how fast you can make toast with it. Yeah. It's pretty big, though. You do a whole wheat field of bread. So yeah, there it is. There's the heater over here, and we drop down the heat exchanger there. And that's what it looks like. It has a bunch of tubes running through it. And when it stands up, you'll see that there's a place for the fans to go. So we disconnected the fans that go on here. This helps cool down the material. I'm getting to, here we go. So they ran a pig through here, and they wanted me to have a look, so I just took my camera and stuck it down there just to see if it was clean enough, and it looked all right. I mean, the stuff on the bottom here, obviously, it's going to be tough to get out of there. But the rest of the sides look pretty clean. And I had to check a few places. I tried to get the camera in there, but it's tough. I'm sure Godzillionaire can appreciate these pictures. You laughed when you first heard about pig launcher? Yeah, there you go. This is another heat exchanger, but this has the bundle. The tube bundle has been pulled out of it. And they clean that as well. So that's what the inside of an exchanger with the tube bundle taken out looks like. So it's very clean. They took a high pressure, like 10,000 PSI pressure washer, and cleaned it right out. They removed a lot of the debris. So while the guys that were doing the high pressure washing were here, these guys, they drove off of our paved parking lot and onto the gravel and got stuck. So what do? Well, you call a wrecker to come out and lift them out of there. So don't go Mythbuster on it and use dynamite in it to clean it out. Oh no, no explosives here. So remember that coil I showed you? This is the back end of it. This is the discharge. That's the discharge end, which was bricked in. As you can see, the brick that was around it. If we're going to remove it, we're going to have to remove all the refractory around it. So we did that. And oh man. Well, what a time for this to happen. Batteries in my mouse just died. You guys will excuse me, I'll just go and grab 2 fresh ones. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Have a good time. All right, I've got some fresh batteries. The problem of having a cordless mouse. You started the laundry, eh, Michael? Good for you. Hey, DJ Ronnie G, nice rotor. This is a flange. A flange for a coil that we're removing. That's the output or the discharge of it. And the inlet is right up there, above it. So, and you can see it's being held in by some of the refractory that they put in there, insulation. So we have to chip that away in order to get that pulled out of there. And DJ Ronnie G, just for you, I'll show you what that coil looks like. Looks like this. So there's the coil. And there's the inlet at the top as it goes out the back there, and the outlet. See how it's all bricked in? So yeah, that's the coil that got removed and replaced this year. There's the back of it. And what was this again? Oh, this was the specific gravity. I was trying to get information for this thing there. This is the inside. That's why you use wired mice and wired controllers. Batteries run out within days with your PC turned on 24/7, making it 95% of your electric bill every year. Wow. Reminds you of welding pipe fitting. Hearing coil? A heating coil. Yes, it's a heating coil, DJ Ronnie G. You got her. This is the storage tank where they store the hydrogen sulfide. In the bottom here is a heater. When you turn the heater on, you can increase the temperature, which would increase the pressure inside, and when you've got to push it to other places to go. You can use that differential pressure to push this around into different pipes. And this year they wanted to look inside. I think it's been 5 years since they installed this brand new, and they wanted to see what it looked like. And to me, that looks pretty darn good for being 5 years old on the inside. Not too bad. And as I promised you guys 2 weeks ago, but I forgot the last week, this is the this is the gas compressor that we take apart every year and rebuild. So it will go another year. Your battery was last month and you use Panasonic rechargeables. You love the smell of hydrogen sulfide in the morning. You only smell it once, and then that's it. But yeah, this is the gas compressor we use to compress the hydrogen sulfide. What we're looking at right now, this is the low pressure end. Over there is the high pressure end. As you can see, it says LP on it, low pressure. There's 8 valves, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top and 4 in the bottom for low pressure. The inlet is in the top, in the middle here, and the discharge is at the bottom. And then that discharge goes over and comes in through the top of the high pressure, and then the discharge for the high pressure is out the bottom here. So it's in the top, out the bottom. Now, because it's high pressure, you have 2 valves on top and 2 on the bottom. So for the low pressure, you have more valves because high volume, low pressure. On the high pressure one, you have lower volume, higher pressure. That's why you have less. And so we take this one apart and we have a few things to get into here. As you can see, we got both sides showing. There is what it looks like inside. So down, if you look down into it, that is the piston that moves back and forth to make the pressure. This is where a valve would be sitting, but we pulled them out because they have to be cleaned. And I believe we were putting new ones in this year, so we didn't put the old ones back in. We cleaned this out and put in a brand new valve. That was our workstation. Those were the valve covers on the bottom, as you can see there. Those would need to be cleaned up, and they did get cleaned up. So this is inside one of the distance pieces. This is the packing that isolates the high pressure and low pressure from one another so that you don't get the pressure blowing into one area and the other, because then it wouldn't work as a compressor very well. It has to seal around this rod, which cycles back and forth. It reciprocates. And it makes sure, we make sure there's quite a bit of packing. It's graphite packing in here that seals it. Got a valve in your PC. Yes, and then you have the oil lines, one up top here, and one at the bottom. I believe that's the drain. And that's how you keep your packing nicely oiled, so that it doesn't get worn out on you prematurely. There's some more oil lines. That's what it looks like, the distance piece, to get access to the packing. In order to do that, we have to remove the rod. Oh, valve. I get it, kitty bear. Jeez. How did I miss that? So yeah. There's another distance piece, as you can see. Another place for packing. This one looks like it was having a little bit of leakage of sulfur. And same with that side, and it has the oil lines coming through. So after the rod comes out, we have to take those packings out. And right now I'm taking pictures, yes, to show you guys, but also good for cataloging for me. So I can be like, oh, it goes in this way, or this is how they're connected. Always take pictures when you're taking stuff apart. It's a good idea. Yep, more oil lines. That's where we're looking at. That's what it looks like. There's the end piece taken off. You start with that. We need to use a come along to pull it off, or a chain fall, because it's just that darn heavy. So there's it is. Once you pull that piece off that you just saw, that's what it looks like. The low pressure end is exposed. So all the gaskets get changed every year, and we'll end up pulling this whole piece off. This whole low pressure end is going to come right off. There's a look on the inside. As you can see, where the valves are, that is what we're looking at, is the low pressure piston. It's looking right at us right here. And there is where the rod, the whole piston rod, is connected. It's screwed on, and then they have a set screw to keep the nut from backing off. And I also did this to remember how many threads we're showing, because that is how you set your tolerances, your clearances for the pistons. So you do it that way. A couple of pictures. Now this was for the guys that were doing more pigging. They were going to pig the lines here, and they need these special attachments, these yellow pieces, these yellow pipes, get attached onto where the pipes are, the exchanger pipes. And then once those are on, then they can attach their red pieces that they need, and they can force the pig through here to clean the pipes out with high pressure water. And that's how it does it. It forces it through the top here, and then it comes out the bottom. And they just keep running it through until they start off with a small one, and then they gradually increase the size to a bigger one, and then to a bigger one, until they can run that through the whole section, through all the pipes with no obstruction. And they do that a few times, and that cleans out the pipes. So it's quite fascinating, but that's how they clean out all those pipes. Okay, so here we are. The HP side, the high pressure side, is left there. We've taken the low pressure side off. You can see the connecting rod. And it is still in there because we have yet to pull it out. But we've taken the low pressure side off. There's a little better shot of it. There's the high pressure piston. Once again, have to clean off this face and put a new gasket on. That's standard operating procedure. Clean the faces, put new gaskets on. You can see the rod's gone now. We've taken the nut off. And we set up some pipe stands to hold the piston rod. We have our pieces over here on pallets, so they're easy to get or take away and move around, because they are damn heavy. And we made sure we supported it, because there was nothing to support it after we took away the high or the low pressure end. So we have to make sure we support the high pressure end so nothing happens. And what else? Did I get some good shots of? No, probably not. Okay. All right. And so, yeah, after that, we rebuilt. We put back in the packing and put it all back together. We cleaned it up, put new gaskets on, reassembled it. And yeah, we ran it, and it ran fine. It's always that tense moment where you're going to bump something, and when you say bump it, that just means you're going to give power to it for a little bit and then shut it off right away. What's the difference between a baker and a programmer? A programmer can program edible and non-edible cookies that are usable. A baker can only bake edible and non-edible, bad-tasting cookies. So true. So true. But yes, this was quite the major project. So this takes about, two guys, about 10 days to pull it apart, clean it up, replace anything that needs to be replaced, and put it all back together and try it out. So we're spending 80 hours on this thing. 80 hours? 10 days, 8 hours a day. Yeah, 80 hours for one guy. So 160 hours for two guys to get this thing back up and running. So that was quite the task. And as you can see back here is where the crank is. There's the electric motor that runs to a big sheave that's underneath this guard here. There's our lubricator. This thing lubricates the entire machine. As you can see, it's got lots of lines coming out of it. Each individual pump goes to a different line, and it runs on its own little motor, and it just keeps pumping the oil in there. And yeah, there's I wish I could have got a better shot of it, but the crank end. We pulled off that panel with the W on it, and we saw the rod with the nut on it. And it's connected to the crosshead and the crankshaft. So yeah, big job. Everything's so heavy too. Like, I don't know, when this thing was made in the 1960s, and it is just solid steel. Like, nothing about it is light. You got to be very careful. It's easy to get your fingers pinched and hurt and all that other kind of stuff. So it's good though. It's all back together and in running condition. So that's what Shutdown's all about, everybody. It's about taking stuff apart, putting them back together, making them run for another year. I'm very happy it's over now. We're going to be starting up, and there's no more rush to get things done, which is another thing that happens is everything is a rush. You have a limited amount of time, about 3 weeks, sometimes 4, to get things done, turned over, and back up in running condition. So it's a mad scramble to get everything done in a short amount of time. So yeah, it's a good time. Good time. Makes you work hard. Where was I here? I'll do that next time. The on switch remains in, but they usually stand by their own. They're on usually standby on their own. Everyone's mileage may vary. You leave your main desktop on when running through a video encoder queue when you're at work. Oh, yeah. I think I leave my iMac stays on all the time. I mean, yeah, the display goes to black for a screensaver, but other than that, I don't turn it off. I just leave it run. Seems to like it a lot better. My laptop, I put it to sleep. That seems to be okay for it. Watching this, you miss working construction, but you also realize you can't do it anymore. Yeah, that's the sucky part, eh? You miss it, but you realize it's like, oh, well, darn, I wish I could do it. But yeah, I should have some more shutdown pictures for you guys next week. Maybe some videos. I gotta say that it was very, very taxing having to be stretched in a few different ways because I am the only ticketed millwright at the site. We're not a big site. You know, there's only about 12 of us there. So, you know, I've got to be available, and I'm trained up enough that I get pulled away to different jobs, whether it's to be a rigger for rigging up the crane or, you know, anything else that I'm trained up to do. Operate the aerial work platform, things like that, because I'm very well trained up. Drink the Grimace drank? No, you. So yes, coil removal. That was pretty crazy. I couldn't take a lot of pictures of the coil being actually removed because I was right in the thick of it. I was one of the guys that was asked to help out to pull that out of there. I was to be the crane signaler and rigger. So had to do that. So it's a little hard to take pictures while you're right in the heat of it and right in the thick of it. But hopefully I can get some from some of the other guys that were taking pictures. And yeah, that is it, everybody. I'm just going to wrap her up here. That is it for the stream, and that is it for Shutdown for another year. So in another year, I'll do the same thing over again. And I'm hoping that it goes smooth. It's always good to have a nice smooth shutdown and learn from what mistakes you made during that last one. You underclock your CPU of your PC because if it runs at full speed while doing nothing, your electric bill over the whole year would be 5 times higher. And that thing's a power sucker, that thing. Needs its own solar panel, I think. Do you do that, Kitty Bear? Anyways, I just want to thank everybody that came out today. You know, I really appreciate you guys. People like Michael, of all people. Thanks for coming out, Michael. I'll see you on Blaine's stream, I'm sure. Whoopa Troopa, Jake D, Godzillionaire, everyone's favorite kaiju. And Kitty Bear. And also DJ Ronnie G. Always good to see you stop by. And hey, do me a favor if you can. Just hit the like button. Tell your friends about me. Spread the word. You know, you want to hear more industrial stories from Pop and some of the things I've been a part of? Tell them about it and say to head on over. And there's other channels out there that put out good content too, like Pacific 414 and Blaine's Escape Corner, who is probably streaming right now as we speak. Ronin66 and our own DJ Ronnie G. He has a channel. Brandon the Anime Guy, who I had finished watching before I started my stream. The Nerdtorial Lifeform. Angry Canadian, who will hopefully be back on the streaming circuit very soon. And there's Whoopa Troopa, who appears on Dadman Walking, and he has his own YouTube channel as well. And Punkwaddle from Floral from Under a Rock, and he also has his own YouTube channel. I got a Discord, it's called The Shop, because, you know, that's where the tradesmen hang out. They hang out at the shop. I'm also on Twitter. I don't do a lot on Twitter, but a few things. Coming up, Saturday is the game stream, and be playing some more Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. That is a really fun game. I'm really getting into it. I hope you guys are too. It's pretty darn fun for the Game Boy Advance. Then coming up is Sunday is Anime Chat. A new month and a new theme. What's my theme gonna be? I bet you're curious. Well, it has something to do with summer. So there's a hint for you. You want to find out? Gonna have to show up 9 a.m. Sunday morning. That's Mountain Time. I believe it's 11 o'clock Eastern. And 8 o'clock Pacific. And then I circle back again to Trades Talk Tuesday, where I will once again talk about the skilled trades and show you some pictures about some of the things I've been involved with. So thanks everyone. I'm very grateful that you all showed up today. I appreciate you all. And I hope to see you guys on Saturday. Full speed, it runs over 350 watt in total. It runs instead of a 3950 watt it does now, and it's only 800 megahertz slower. Ugh. You're filming your tortoise in a hamster ball this week. That ought to be fun. Oh, 250 watt. Okay, Kitty Bear. Work has you on a better sleep schedule, so you might see the Saturday stream. Hey, all right. Well, I hope you can show up there, Michael. Too many streams going on at the same time. It's hard to follow everyone. That's what replay's for. But yeah, I get it, Kitty Bear. I have that dilemma too. It's like, oh man, this person's streaming and I want to watch them, and this person's streaming at the same time. I want to watch them. Yeah, it's tough out there. All right, you guys. Thanks a lot for coming out. I appreciate it. Until next time, this is Pop, and I am signing off.